6 o'clock is the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting, Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. Call to order, please.
Zamora.
Here.
Harmon. Boutros.
Here.
Larson. Vance.
Here.
Beck.
Here.
All right, and we do want to welcome, we have a new commissioner, Aaron Vance, and I think Joe wanted to share something as well.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Hello. I guess I don't need a mic. I just wanted to welcome our new commission member, Mr. Vance. Thank you for doing this. I know this is not a high-paying job, so thank you, and we welcome your advice, your review. Oh, there it is, and your opinions on these things. But we just wanted to say welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So with that, we'll move on with the agenda. There's no actually any conflict of interest declarations from any of the commissioners.
No.
Seeing none, we'll move on. No special presentations. It takes us to item 5 on the agenda. It's consent calendar. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
The Commissioner Whitbeck, is there a second?
Second.
Second for Commissioner Boutros. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we'll move on to the review of the proceeding. So this is a regularly scheduled meeting for the Caldwell Planning and Zoning Commission. We serve both in a decision-making capacity and an advisory capacity to the mayor and city council. There are 2 types of public hearings that the commission conducts. The first is a legislative hearing whereby we formulate a recommendation on land use requests. Our recommendations are then forwarded on to the city council, who makes the decisions on these matters. The second type is quasi-judicial. A quasi-judicial hearing involves the consideration of a land use request such as an annexation, rezone classification, or approval of a subdivision preliminary plat. The public hearing procedures as required by Idaho Code are as follows. First, oral and written testimony will be accepted from those who signed up to speak prior to the hearing being declared open. When providing testimony, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and which will be included into the record. Staff will first present a report regarding the application being considered. This is followed by public testimony that begins with the applicant or the applicant's representative, who will present a summary of the request for no more than 10 minutes. Testimony of those in support will be taken, followed by those in a neutral position, and finally those in opposition to the request will have an opportunity to speak for no more than 3 minutes. The applicant will then be offered an opportunity to provide a rebuttal testimony. After the rebuttal testimony is given, the public testimony portion of the public hearing may be closed, and no new oral or written testimony will be permitted once the motion to close the public hearing portion has been made. So with that, we'll move on with the agenda to old business. We have action item, so case number, to declare this hearing open, case number ANN 24-14, SPP 24-5, SUP 24-22. With that, staff report, please.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Geez, there we go. Eat the mic. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I start, I did want to hand out a physical copy of a late exhibit that you all received via email this afternoon. But just to give you guys this is the applicant's response to the staff report. He and I have had a quick discussion about it as well. So I'll also go into a little more detail about that within my presentation. But this is a physical copy just for you.
Okay.
Apologize for the small font. It's just what it is.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Joe Dodds. I'm the principal planner or planning supervisor here at the City of Caldwell. 205 South 6th Avenue is our new address here. As noted, the first project before you tonight is for the Kane Center. It is for annexation, preliminary plat, and an SUP, a special use permit. The annexation tonight is for approximately 13.1 acres with an initial zoning request of R2 and C1. And a preliminary plat consisting of 21 multifamily residential lots and 10 commercial lots, and a special use permit to allow for a retail sales store with gasoline in the requested C1 district. A point of clarification, the original, how do I put this, public notice that went out has different lot counts. I should say lot really delineation. Still same total number, but I had less commercial lots. That's because the one that got published was the quote-unquote old one. The application has been through a few iterations, and we're finally here, but it was actually submitted last year, so that's why there's been some discrepancy. However, because it's a recommendation and because the total lot count has not increased, there's no judicial issue there. So I just want to clarify that for the record. As noted, the project was originally submitted in 2024 under the old comprehensive plan, but it was also when the comp plan was being redone and completely made over. Because of that, the applicant and staff met multiple times to discuss how that previous project would or would not work, and it typically would generally not work because by the time they'd get to city council, it was going to be after the comprehensive plan that they submitted under was no longer valid, and therefore their requested map amendment would be requesting to amend a map that no longer existed, technically. So they kind of went back to the drawing board with staff's assistance there of just coordinating what the new comp plan expects as well as what the new codes are going to be, which also happened near that same time frame. And so we have the project before you tonight. And for the residents that are nearby, that's why the signs changed so many times. That's why it's been continued, I think, 3 times. It's because the new code is a little robust and there was the comprehensive plan changes too. So they're just trying to get their ducks in a row. As far as where this project is located, we'll start there and then zoom in. So it's located on a 13-acre parcel at the southwest corner of the Homedale and Montana intersection. It has frontage to Homedale, Montana, and also to Bayou Way at the southeast corner through a cross-access agreement / note that is on the Arrowleaf subdivision plat. Within about a mile of the subject site, there are several developments that are approved and or actively under construction. So I won't go through the whole list, but the main one being Verbena Ranch to the west, labeled as number 7, that's why it's a different color. That was recently approved by City Council. That has about a 3.6 units per acre, I believe, was the density on that. And most of the surrounding area, as you can see by the green color, is single-family residential. Directly to the south is single-family, but it is R2. And then to the east is additional commercial. I guess kind of got ahead of myself there, but to reiterate, it is surrounded by city zoning in all directions now. The map doesn't reflect it only because the map hasn't been updated, but it is city zoning on all 4 sides of this project. R1 is located to the north, northeast, and the east, as well as to the west for Verbena Ranch. R2 is located directly to the south, and that is the Arrowleaf subdivision, with C1 neighborhood commercial directly to the east on the opposite corner, the southeast corner of this Homedale, Montana intersection. Within the noted zoning districts, there's a majority of single-family residential, as I noted, and 3 schools that are within walking distance. There's Valley View High School to the northeast, Valley View Middle, and Falcon Ridge south, approximately half a mile or so. And Falcon Ridge is planned to be open this fall. As far as the comprehensive plan, it's a really exciting map. We have neighborhood 2 with everywhere, including the subject site. And neighborhood 2 is considered the primary residential place type within the city of Caldwell. Place type replaced somewhat of the language of future land use designation, but it means essentially the same thing. This place type encompasses residential areas that provide an array of low and mid-density housing options. Neighborhoods located outside of commercial centers, but they should be well integrated and well connected to nearby services. Neighborhood 2 is the most prevalent place type within the city. They should develop to be highly connected and allow for a variety of housing options. In general, less dense housing is found in areas further from major roadways and corridors, and increases in density closer to major roads. Commercial services are low to medium intensity and are generally located at the intersections of major arterial and collector roads, but should be highly accessible to the surrounding neighborhoods. Furthermore, residential densities within this place type should be 2 to 8 units per acre, unless a higher density is requested through the available density bonus program. Through the density bonus program, the maximum density is up to 12 units per acre. The applicant is proposing a residential density of 9.6 units per acre on the subject site through the density bonus program. And I will discuss that in a later slide, because that is brand new to the city, and this is the first one I believe the commission has heard or will have heard. As mentioned before, the applicant did originally submit this under the old comp plan. Now, the original submittal did include a map amendment. It no longer does, so I think, again, some of the original public noticing included a map amendment application number that is no longer valid. It's voided out, no longer applicable. Since the comprehensive plan is no longer applicable, the applicant did have to revise their requested zoning as well as their density and remove the comprehensive plan map amendment. Overall, staff finds that the proposed development is generally consistent with the comp plan with the inclusion of the commercial at the corner and a medium-high density residential development in the rest of the site. That generally transitions from that to the single family that's planned in the area. As far as zoning is concerned, as noted, the applicant is requesting C1 and R2, which will match what's directly adjacent to the site. The C1 area is proposed to be approximately 6 acres, with the R2 area being approximately 7 acres, give or take. C1 is generally proposed along the frontages of both Homedale and Montana, including the intersection, with R2 being internal to the site and along the west and south boundaries. The purpose of the R2 community residential zone is to provide areas in accordance with the comp plan that accommodate a larger variety of lot sizes and housing types. Purpose of the C1 neighborhood commercial zone is to provide areas in accordance with the comp plan that accommodate small scale, lower intensity retail, restaurant, office, and service oriented businesses that are meant to serve the day-to-day needs of nearby residential neighborhoods. The proposed C2 and R2 zones are consistent with the comp plan, meaning that they are listed as compatible zoning districts within the neighborhood to place type, so they're good there. And the proposed R2 zone matches the zoning to the south, and again, note the C1 matches what's to the east. Now to the actual development being proposed, I'll start with the proposed uses. The Kane Center project proposes the following land uses. First, multifamily residential within 4-plex and 6-plex buildings. Secondly, a gas station and convenience store at the very hard corner. West of that is a drive-through restaurant that's being proposed. And then they have multiple build-to-suit commercial retail lots, meaning that there's no end user anticipated right now, but they are zoning them C1 to accommodate future commercial uses. The proposed multifamily residential land uses are permitted within the R2 zone. And so 4-plex and 6-plex are considered respectively. I think it's multifamily dwelling 4-plex and multifamily dwelling small scale. The drive-through is a permitted land use within the C1 zone, but the gas station and retail store requires an SUP. So through that, the applicant has submitted all of those required applications. The proposed preliminary plat includes 34 total lots, 21 for the multifamily, 10 commercial lots, and 3 common lots. Within the 21 residential lots, 23 buildings are proposed, 6 4-plexes and 17 6-plexes, for a total of 126 dwelling units, and a gross density of, as I noted before, approximately 9.6 units per acre. As noted, only 2 commercial uses are proposed at this time, the drive-through and the gas station. Both of those areas will be analyzed in more detail with future submittals, so actually analyzing the site once a specific site plan is proposed for each of those. The remaining commercial areas, like I noted, are built to suit, so none of those can be thoroughly reviewed at this time, only because what's on the plat right now, the actual plat won't have the boxes of the buildings, and so it's just lots, and then future users will determine how big or small of a site and building that they need. At this time, staff does not have any concern with the future commercial uses, as they'll just have to comply with the C1 zoning district. In addition, all dimensional standards of the proposed development were reviewed against the R2 and the C1 zoning districts, and they are compliant with all regulations within Article 5 and 6 respectively. And that would be for lot size, frontage requirements, lot dimensions, and building height. Sorry, let me go here. Landscaping and open space. The applicant is proposing approximately 1.68 acres of qualifying open space, which is approximately 12.8%. According to the open space requirements of the new multifamily development code, the total open space between the baseline 10% and a per unit requirement is approximately 2 acres, which would be 15.3%. So they are slightly under. As you saw within my staff report, I've recommended a couple different options. The applicant and I, and I'm sure engineering as well, plan to continue to work through that and where we can fit that in or not fit that in. Since the original response that you guys have for you, the applicant and I have discussed, and there's some agreement on going forward with the recommendation that I have made regarding some of that extra parking. There are other areas that can be modified too. Point being, this is an ongoing thing. They will try to do that as best they can prior to city council, or risk being continued by city council. The new multifamily development code also requires a minimum 60 square feet of private open space per unit. That's not to say they have 126 units and then overall average is just 60 per. That's one way to do it, but the actual code language requires each to have at least minimum 60 square foot. So that means their patio and decks have to be at least that large. Some of them are, from what I remember reviewing, some of them are not. That has been conditioned, it's been discussed. They're already having the architect work on their floor plans to accommodate this requirement. Staff also did make recommendations, about the open space, and I just wanted to reiterate that we will continue to work with them because open space calculations can be nuanced. The way that they calculate it is not how I calculate it, and the way that I calculate it may not be exactly how somebody else calculates it. Point being, there's a little nuance there. We will work through it, especially as it's new code, and we will get this buttoned up as best that we can. As far as general landscaping, trees, shrubs, buffers, things like that, there's only one minor tree count deficiency, and that would be between the commercial lots in the center and the two residential. They just need to have additional trees. That was the only landscaping issue. As far as amenities within the open space, they are proposing 8 total amenities: a clubhouse, a pool, a tot lot, physical fitness facility, fire pits with seating areas, a picnic area, electric vehicle charging stations, an internal pedestrian network that is beyond what code would require, and a dog park. The dog park was not previously listed in the staff report because apparently I am blind and did not see that, and that is my fault. So that is a total of 8 amenities being proposed, which leads to density bonus. So again, comprehensive plan and the density bonus program, or I should say the density bonus program that is mentioned within the comprehensive plan and now in code 1003-18 is the only way to increase your density within the city at this time. Previous, you could use a planned unit development. You can no longer use the planned unit development code or process to increase your density. Now it's this new code. We've gone over it multiple times through the code amendments, but just to reiterate, it has been considered and deemed by both staff, the public, and developers to be a harder bar to clear in order to get the increase in density. Essentially, the old PUD code, you submit for a PUD, and you meet their few criteria, which is like a little extra open space, a couple amenities, and extra parking, and you'd get your bonus. And you could go all the way to the max. There was not you could only get 50% of it or whatever. You would get the full allowable density bonus. Now they have to meet certain criteria and gain points and accrue points to get a certain percentage of density bonus. And because they are proposing 9.6 units per acre, they will need at least 1.6 points, which essentially 2 points. Again, they could go up to 12 units per acre through this program, but they are thankfully not going that high. These are the specific criteria that is in code. So you have the affordable units, universal design, amenities, housing variation, open space, regional connectivity, and inclusion of specific uses. The 3 categories that this applicant is proposing to use is universal design, amenities, and the open spaces, regional connectivity. Specific to the site, these are just some of the examples of their floor plan and one of their elevations. They are proposing 3.5 density bonus points while not utilizing all of them. The amenities, the 8 that I had mentioned before, the regional pathway, and all units to be constructed with universal design standards. So, all units to be constructed with universal design, not the first floor or half, all of them. That alone is 2 points. The regional pathway is 0.5 point, and the amenities provide 1 point. So again, that's 3.5. They're utilizing about 2 points of that. Upon review of the materials, including the floor plans, the landscape plans, site plan, elevations, etc., the staff does find that the proposed plans do depict compliance with all of these proposed criteria, and therefore may request the density bonus. Because the main component of that is for universal design, I did want to iterate what those criteria are for the commission. So first is 0-step entrances into the units. At least one entrance shall have a 36-inch door. Interior doors are required to have 32-inch clearances, except for a door that provides access to a closet of fewer than 15 square feet. A maximum of a 1/2-inch vertical change at any threshold. Each hallway shall have a width of at least 36 inches and shall be level with ramped or beveled changes at each doorway. And then have at least one bathroom on the main floor that is accessible to a wheelchair. So, the applicant has proposed all the units with those criteria, but in addition, they've actually proposed all of the first floor units to be ADA compliant, which is taking these and going another step further. However, because that component within the density bonus program has a higher threshold than the first floor units are about 18.5%, they can't use that for any density bonus. So that is just a bonus for that community. Because these are so imperative to the project, these are something that, one, are conditioned to be complied with, and that they will be verified every step of the way. So at the final plat stage, at construction drawing stage, and most importantly, at the building permit stage, when all the departments will be able to review what is actually being submitted and comply with these building requirements for the universal design. As far as access and public services, the proposed development will have adequate access, both vehicular and pedestrian, and all utilities are available or will be available as noted within the engineering staff report. There was a traffic impact study required, and it was reviewed and approved, and it does anticipate the recent development in the area. The original one was, I believe, done in July of '24. It was approved and submitted later that year of '24. After Verbena Ranch got approved, the applicant discussed with engineering, and they updated the TIS trip generation to reflect the recent development in this area, and that has been reviewed by the city engineer and approved. Because of the planned roundabout at the intersection of Homedale, Montana, and a couple other things that were already in the staff report from the previous TIS, there was not additional mitigation required. Now, I'm sure if you have specific questions on that, Haley would be much smarter and better about that than I am. I know enough to be dangerous for transportation stuff here. As far as public hearing notifications, it's been notified per state statute, otherwise we would not be here tonight. So the agenda's been posted, the site has been posted, and the public noticing in general to the neighbors have been done. As far as agency notifications, they were notified earlier in the year. Only Valley View and ITD responded with any sort of comments at all. Valley View noted no opposition or support, but did note that future projections of elementary school capacity in the area is of concern for them due to just increased enrollment, and that approved development may exceed capacity at multiple schools. And other letters, I think this one was a little older, they'd put within 2029, so some years out relatively, but they did note that concern. ITD did not comment except noting that the proposed project did not trigger a TIS for ITD, despite being within a mile or so of Highway 55. There were 3 letters of opposition submitted prior to this hearing. They noted concerns with the following: a proposal of multifamily dwellings in general, the anticipated increase in traffic with and without the planned roundabout, proposed connection into Bayou Way along the south boundary, and general concerns with increased traffic of all developments nearby, not just this one. As far as site-specific conditions are concerned, I did note one. It was really just a recommendation regarding, now that I'm thinking about it, the trash enclosures. That's right, I forgot. It was about the trash enclosures, which is one of the concerns noted here. So the first is cross-access easement and agreement for commercial lots at the corner, because right now there's not one shown on the plat, and I did not see a plat note, so it was just a site-specific condition to add that, as well as correct the open space. As we've discussed, they're a little short. They've got a few options to get there, and I think the project can get there relatively easily. I'll skip trash enclosures for a second. I did note a requirement to meet the architectural standards that are outlined within the multifamily development code. It talks about multiple materials, multiple colors. The only one that they weren't compliant with was the multiple materials. The applicant has stated in their response that they do actually have 3 materials, but it's hard to see on the elevation. So I believe that they'll discuss that tonight to make sure that's clear for the commission. As far as the trash enclosures, there are 2 that were of concern to staff, one along the south boundary closest to Arrowleaf, and then one along the west boundary that would be closest to Verbena Ranch once those homes get constructed. Obviously, trash enclosures can be loud for anybody that's ever lived in multifamily or been around a commercial area. Sometimes the loudest thing in the entire development can be when the trash truck comes in and picks those and slams those down. So staff wanted to ask the applicant to move those to a better location, get them away from the property line. The applicant in their response did note that they would review that and move where those are located. The last one is italicized and separated because I forgot to include this, and so with any motion tonight, I ask that Commission add this condition because I completely forgot that the original exhibits reflect their original request and not this one, and through the many iterations of the project, I think we just missed this overall. So that would be highly appreciated. With that, if Commission recommends approval of the subject request for annexation, preliminary plat, and SUP, that this request is subject to the conditions as specified within the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order of decision, and any additional conditions, including the one I requested, as well as any that you may add tonight. And with that, I will stand for any questions, or we can kick it straight to the applicant, however you'd like to go.
Thank you. Commissioners, at this time, typically have our applicant come up, and then we'll ask both of them questions. So with that, Brett, come on up for presentation of no more than 10 minutes, please. Name and address into the record first.
Thank you. My name is Brent Orton. Address is 17338 Sunnydale Place in Caldwell. And thank you. It's great to be with you tonight. We have with us tonight a member of the owner group, maybe more than one. The owner group is Royal Pro C LLC, and this is a group of Idaho business folks who do a lot of things, and they're great. They're a great owner group. They've been really good to, as Joe mentioned, we submitted originally last fall, last August, and legally you can say, hey, we want to be heard under the old code. We were approached in the, Morgan and Joe got with us and said, hey, the comp plan's changing. Here's the problem. There's not really a comp plan designation of land on. You're going to be doing a map amendment to a no longer existent, it just, and so after meeting with the neighbors a couple times last summer, this is why there's a lot of changes happening. We did send a letter to update the neighbors on where we've landed so far. And so we're trying to keep everyone well informed. That's not required by code or anything. We just want to communicate well. So let's see, I can use this? All right, thank you. Joe covered this. I'm going to go through several slides quickly that Joe covered very well. And by the way, for Joe's help, Joe substantially has worked on this case and helped us a ton. Morgan as well helped us with it, and we just want to express a lot of appreciation for very thorough, especially with helping us navigate the new code amendment. The new comprehensive plan is a really cool, innovative comprehensive plan. We're still learning the code, and so we've our open space thing, as an example, we've made a few mistakes that the staff has been great to help us to identify and work on. I'm going to go ahead and move on from this. I will say one thing, that the commercial uses we've proposed are the ones we think fit on the site. We have the little drive-through restaurant that's only big enough to be probably like a coffee shop. It's not going to be able to be a Dutch Brothers. We've done some work for Dutch Brothers, and their queuing is way too much for just the brand has huge following, and so we can't be putting one of those there, and they wouldn't. From working with them, we're aware that they wouldn't come to a site like that. We're open-minded to, the owner group is open-minded to commercial users of any that fit in the C1 zone. We did have the traffic study include 2 more drive-throughs that could be on the other side of the Phyllis Canal there. Let's see if I go back, does that help? In order to just be ready to accommodate, to make sure we're covering the traffic impacts that could happen if we have more users that want that kind of a use, drive-through. As you know, traffic generation from commercial users, drive-throughs are kind of at the top of traffic generators. They're one of the most intense generators, and then down to like an insurance office or maybe an engineer's office or something, which would be at the low end of the traffic generator list. And so we've just done a cross-section of those uses to try to make sure we're representing the possibilities that could happen. Joe covered this already. I won't go more into that. The comprehensive plan, N2 designation, future land use designation, and Joe covered that well, but this is a cool comprehensive plan that has been created and adopted with a lot of guidance. Frankly, it had a lot to do with the code, so the staff had to work really hard from the adoption in February of the code, or of the comp plan, to get code installed that would implement the comprehensive plan, because it was just not separable. You couldn't really adopt this comp plan and not have new code. Is that fair? All right. So this just identifies the C1 areas, neighborhood commercial areas, and the R2 areas. One of the things we did is we increased some of the commercial buildings and decreased some of the residential buildings, some of the multifamily buildings. We also had some larger, like a 12-plex. We reduced that down to comply with the new codes and comp plan. And so there's nothing bigger than 6-plexes in the development at this point. You notice that we've proposed different lots for this. Our notion about how that would work is that there would be the capability for us to sell lots and sell units, but it will all be managed by one management entity. So everything will look the same, be maintained the same, and it's just that's kind of how we make that investment opportunity work for the people who own the buildings, and then provide a lot of very nice residential, multifamily residential for people who are at the stage of life where an apartment is most fitting for them. A quick word on why the Kane Center. You know that the Kane Center is there right now. It was a veterinary training facility, and I'll just jump forward to a little more. These are some of the notable people who worked at the Kane Center for years. So this is veterinary professors, veterinary research, and students, veterinary students, through University of Idaho. And so this is just a list of several of the names of people who are very notable in the existence and operation and of the Kane Center, including Art Kane, who was the banker, and a dean, and there are several others. We are using the names of these folks, several of the names of these folks, for street names, just to kind of keep remembrance of what was here before, and it's a long part of Caldwell's history. Joe covered the amenities. I won't belabor that, since I need to keep moving on for time's sake. There's the pool and et cetera, and then the nice landscape area you see in the bottom right, and then an amenity area that's outside of the Pioneer Irrigation District's easement for the Phyllis Canal. One thing that's notable too, and we have worked with Pioneer on this, is that we're sharing some of their easement space for our right out, just to get as far away from the corner and the roundabout as possible. We also propose that to be a right out only, so that it wouldn't have a negative impact on the roundabout when it's constructed. Here's just a floor plan. And those, I think, are in the packet, but each is meant to meet the universal design standards, and the ground floor ones will be capable of being ADA, most especially because there will be wheelchair accessible on the ground floor. The rest of them are basically, the idea of this universal design is that people could age in place. While they may be able to navigate stairs, they'll have an easier time getting around and maneuvering and using their apartment here. This is one of the floor plans. You see a board and bat. The three surfaces are board and bat, hardy board siding, and a stucco band. And we'll have more contrasting colors and make that easier to see before City Council. But there's the 4 and 6 plexes. Something else notable that I'd love as the neighbors speak, and I want to thank them for coming out. I know some of them are not in favor of the project, which we respect. It's tough to see so much growth and new traffic and things change and your views change. We understand that. We're not pretending that that's not one of the difficult challenges of new growth. But we have designed these buildings to have no windows on the outward faces. There's plenty of windows for people to use on the inside and sideways faces of the buildings. The intent here was to not create a situation where people felt, where adjacent neighbors felt like people were able to look out their window and look over their yard and whatnot. I would be interested to know, as the neighbors testify, if they think this is ugly and they'd rather see windows, then by all means we can include that in our modifications to the redesign of the buildings as we're getting our patios to code required size and stuff. But that's what we've done right now with the intent to protect the neighbors from something that could feel intrusive. We've also eliminated on the south boundary, we've modified all those to be 2-story buildings only, in order to, again, eliminate an imposing structure next door to a single-family dwelling. Additionally, our site is a little bit lower than the Arrowleaf. Arrowleaf elevated their site when they built there, and so we've done a quick analysis, which I'll show later in the presentation, to illustrate how that will feel a lot like it's only 3 feet different than being literally on par with their first floor being adjacent to the second floor. So I'll show that. Commercial lots are clustered towards the primary streets. This is a nice transition from the single-family dwelling towards commercial one that's already there. and institutional uses with the school and the LDS Seminary building. Okay, I'm going to skip over that. Joe covered it well. Okay, so here's the slide that I mentioned. What I'd love to do is get in there with the survey instrument and survey so I can give you precise numbers, but basically what we've done is taken pictures and scaled these. That's a 6-foot vinyl fence at Arrowleaf, and this is, we're looking at Arrowleaf from the Verbena Ranch site, looking towards the east. So you can see the 2-story building. Down in the bottom right, you see that's about we're about 4 feet above the property line elevation at the, if we go 6 feet down from the fence that's shown. Usually finished floors are a little bit higher than that, but we're just, to make sure that we're being fair about it. Then we go down to the property line, and the elevation there is 2466 above mean sea level. Then we go down, continue down where we anticipate the finished floors will be at 2463, and that's just based on kind of balancing and massing the site. I'm not sure it'll turn out exactly like this. It actually may be better than this. I don't anticipate it being any worse than this. Okay, I've run out of time, Mr. Chairman, so I think that Joe covered everything else that we need, and happy to stand for questions. If you would permit me to make just one more comment, I'd like to just mention
Quickly, yes.
traffic. Engineering has provided us with a couple of traffic mitigation requirements that will tide this intersection over or meant to assist with the traffic between now and when the roundabout's built. We recognize there may be some time lag between that. Our build out in the traffic study says will be built out at 2030. That's really tough to know. It's going to be market dependent. It may be longer than that. I don't anticipate it being sooner than that. But we will be building a eastbound left turn lane. So as you're traveling away from the intersection towards 10th, we'll build a turn lane there is one of the requirements that engineering has given us, which we agree with, to make sure that traffic left turning traffic into our site, can be separated from the Homedale traffic, and then also an eastbound right turn lane at the intersection. What this will do is separate the Homedale traffic that's traveling through, and there's already a left turn, so it'll give each different traffic stream its own lane, and that'll help to ameliorate some of the problems. The problem with not having that is that your right turners and your left turners, if they're all mixed together, they're inhibiting each other, and it lets you spread that queue out too. So it'll help to ameliorate the problems until the roundabout's built. So with that,
Thank you.
I'll shut up and stand for your
Well,
questions.
I appreciate that, because I know there's questions. I have questions about traffic, and that's definitely public comments around that. So with this time, commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Vance?
I have a question about the entrances into the commercial lots next to Homedale. Looking at the map here, it looks like the width of that entrance and exit, I'm assuming, is that compliant with what's needed for a commercial site? Looking at it from at the other lot or the other entrances across the street?
Yes, I'm trying to remember exactly what those widths were, but those widths would be in compliance, and we'll verify that at the time of construction document as well.
Thank
And
you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner
Go ahead.
Vance, I will point out that our right out is not a full commercial approach. Presumably, we would assume to cut that in half, mostly because we just want it to be right out, and we're also working with Pioneer to make sure it meets their needs for their ditch rider road.
Thank you. I have a couple clarifying questions real quick. So, Joe, I know earlier in your presentation you had the bonus density stuff. I honestly just couldn't see. It was too small for me. So can you tell me what the thresholds are for amenities that would generate points?
Sure, yeah. Commissioner Zamora, so the criteria says that it has to be basically twice what the subdivision code would require. Our general subdivision code doesn't require any amenities, so if it was just a preliminary plat for single family, there'd be 0 amenities required by code. However, this is multifamily subdivision. The minimum is 4 based upon the number of units. They proposed 8, and so they're still double what the code is, which I told them they had to do in order to get that 1 point of density bonus for that.
Thank you. And how do we define, how is the amenities defined?
There are multiple categories within the multifamily development code. We're writing like active open space, passive open space. There's like other categories that are all part of what are available, and then there's also a caveat of things that just kind of make sense of that. I didn't write an exhaustive list because the code would never end, but there are multiple categories, and they've provided at least one within each, which is the minimum required. Plus, obviously, they've done double the amount overall.
I'll open it up to other commissioners right now.
You anything?
Commissioner Boutros.
Okay. Engineering, on page 27 of the application, it describes the traffic impact study. It indicates the Montana-Homedale intersection will fail in 2028 unless the planned roundabout is constructed. Where is that roundabout on the capital improvement plan?
Commissioner Boutros and other commissioners. That's a great question, and thank you for asking about that roundabout. We've actually are budgeting to do the design of that roundabout this upcoming fiscal year. So we are moving that roundabout design and construction forward, anticipating that the roundabout at Homedale in Montana will be designed 2026, begin construction 2027.
So by the end of 2027, it should be operational?
That's our current plan, yes.
I have more, hold on. Okay, the Indiana Homedale roundabout is expected to operate at level of service F during the AM peak hour as a single-lane roundabout, and the application says there are no improvements programmed. That's in the traffic impact study on page 126. Is that correct? For the Indiana Homedale?
Yes, let me just pull up, I have the CIP in front of me, so I just want to verify really fast. We are not planning on moving forward with the Indiana roundabout in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
And, oh,
Oh, sorry, I was checking to make sure if it's on our CIP.
okay, page 125 of the application details the traffic impact study and addresses the 10th Avenue and Homedale intersection and describes that intersection as failing by 2027. And they note that it already has a high crash frequency and there are no improvements programmed at that intersection. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Oh, wait, what? Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard you. 10th, my apologies, Boutros, or Commissioner Boutros. I misheard you. That was, that intersection is being constructed as part of the neighboring development. They are going to be constructing that intersection as part of their first phase of development.
So do we have a rough idea of when that will be operational?
They're coordinating with engineering right now on the design. I expect them to be submitting those plans very soon. I suspect that that will be constructed and operational by the end of next year.
By the end of 2026?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, sorry.
beg your pardon?
I
It's, if you're willing to allow me
Sure.
to make a comment, it could be helpful.
To answer his
Commissioner
question,
Boutros. I would note that the updated traffic study also, in regards to Homedale and, oh, come on, brain. By Pep's house, come on. Thank you. Holy cow, that was a crazy one. Homedale, Indiana, the traffic study does identify that just right-hand turn slip lanes at that intersection would ameliorate the traffic problem there. So it doesn't have to be beefed up to a full two-lane roundabout to solve that problem.
Thank you.
Other commissioners, questions? Commissioner
Mr. Orton, what did your, I mean, in construction and everything, and there's always delays and everything like that. What is your projected timeline of completion for this project? If it were approved?
Yeah, if we were to be approved, we'd immediately begin on construction drawings and build infrastructure. The construction drawings, I anticipate we would have some off-season work to do on the Phyllis Canal. We have to widen the Phyllis Canal. Also, there's some utility work to do there. There's already a water line that runs through this. The developer, before we submit an application, they gave an easement to the city, and it allowed us to, when I worked for the city, it allows us to connect Zone 3 through together, which is helpful to that area. So we'll serve water for that corner from Zone 2, and then Zone 3 is upstream of the canal there. So we've got that constraint. So I would anticipate that it'll probably take us, in the very best case scenario, we'd be able to start building infrastructure in 2026. And it will probably take quite a while to acquire the commercial users and to acquire, we'll also be relying on investors to come to the table to help build the buildings. We do have some possibilities of some investors that we're talking to now that are, some of them larger investors that could make it happen more quickly. But I guess to get to the point, I don't think we'll see anything happen faster than late 2026. And I certainly don't think we're going to be in a build-out scenario, no matter who our investor is, before the projected 2030. So maybe we get a few of those. I could be wrong, but that would be my expectation.
And you're just referring to the commercial lots, not the residential, correct?
The whole thing.
The whole thing,
The whole
gotcha.
thing, yeah. We would definitely pursue both of them simultaneously. And then as we acquire users to buy or rent space, then we would be pursuing construction.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here, so they're helping me out. So one of the amenities that I heard was, and I don't have it in front of me now, the regional pathways was one of the amenities. But in the staff report, and I don't know specifically what page, when you talked about that, there was a note in there in which there was no connectivity to the neighboring subdivision. And so I guess my wondering thought is, how are we rationalize that as being regional connectivity if it's not actually connecting to the neighboring area?
Mr. Chair, great question. I guess I should have explained that a little better in the staff report. So Verbena Ranch that was approved to the west is including their segment that will connect all the way from Moss and like the north side of the schools there, all the way through their site up to the very southwest corner of this site. So they will connect. Though my initial comment regarding it not showing connectivity is they show it stubbing right to the south boundary. That's not accurate. It will have to kind of turn into the southwest corner, which they've already noted that they'll address and work with Verbena Ranch to make sure that the slope as well as the location of that connection point matches, so there will be that regional connectivity.
So is that conditioned? Is that
Yes.
one of your conditions?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for applicant or staff from commissioners? If not, thank you. So we'll move on to the rest of public testimony. So we have individuals signed up in favor. We have Tanya Orton who signed up and not to speak, and David Orton didn't check. Would you like to speak, David? All right, come on up. Name and address and no more than 3 minutes, please.
David Orton, 3706 South Way. One of the things that I wanted to address that is a big plus that we did not, that I got to work on, that was not actually able to be used as a bonus density point, but is an extremely important point for the city of Caldwell and Greater Treasure Valley in general, is the ADA construction of all of the first floor apartments. What that means is that people who are aging in our community that can no longer climb stairs, ADA requirements will allow people who are in wheelchairs to get in and out of those homes and live there comfortably, as opposed to trying to make things work with ramps and other amelioration devices in older constructions. And that is something that I don't know that we've really taken into account with the explosive growth of the Treasure Valley and the city of Caldwell in particular. That is just an enormous, I've had an opportunity in my career to work with making things accessible to people with disabilities, including, blindness and mobility and even finger disabilities. And that is something that, while it's not in the code, is going to be a big bonus and a draw for people who are aging in place here in Caldwell, who are disabled, who have disabled children, and that is what I wanted to note. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have one person signed up. So that was everybody who signed up in favor. I have one person signed up in neutral that wishes to speak. Cindy Tinker. I'm sorry?
Was that in favor or?
This was in neutral. I have one person signed up in neutral.
Hello, Cindy Tinker, 1203 Talon Court.
Thank you. 3 minutes.
I was neutral because I am against the gas station and the convenience store. That does not need to be there. There are 5 gas stations within 4 miles of us. We don't need another one. It brings crime. A couple of years ago, there was an explosion in Idaho, in a small town, a couple people died. I just don't see the need for that. I feel like something else should go there. We take pride in our neighborhood. I spend a lot of money and time, my husband and I, in our neighborhood. I like to see it kept a quiet place. And I don't see how that could happen with that. And maybe something like a sit-down restaurant. There are a lot of kids that go to school. Might be nice for them to come by after school, have something to do besides get in trouble at the convenience store. And also, there are no easements on Montana. You have to stick your car almost out in front when you're going left. Every morning, I'm like edging out there. So that's also an issue because those fence lines back in the day just butted up against the sidewalks. Let's see, and also, how many parking places are going in these businesses? Because once the TI is put in there, we don't know what's going in there. So different things, depending on if it's a hair salon, you're gonna have to have more parking spaces, and something else wouldn't require that. So I feel like we need to be careful with those parking spaces as we go forward and decide what's gonna go in there. And last, I saw that they were doing board and batten, hardened board, and stucco finishes. And it would be nice to have 3 architectural elements in place in these buildings, just to make them look a little nicer, and it's not gonna cost that much more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. So that was she was the only person signed up in neutral, so we move on to several people signed up in favor. So I'll go down the list. Scott West. I'm sorry, I meant opposition. I misspoke. I was looking at the sheet too quickly. Opposition, name, address, and then you have 3 minutes, Scott.
My name is Scott West, 16709 Ryland Avenue, and I live in the Hartley. And I did bring some of my communication to substantiate what I want to bring up.
Thank you.
And Heartleaf is plotted as Arrowleaf, so we
Right.
refer to it as Heartleaf, but it's actually Arrowleaf that we're referencing.
So I have two major concerns. One is traffic and one is the setback and building height. And it looked like the building height has been reduced to 2-story, is that correct? Is the setback been changed from 10 feet?
It's, we're working on that, yeah. It's 15 right now, we're working on that.
Okay, if that's the case, then I don't have any concerns with that except for traffic. And I did want to bring up on traffic that currently on Montana, if you go up to Montana to Karcher, most of the traffic turns left on Karcher to go down towards Napa and the freeway. That's the fastest way to the freeway. So now when the 55 gets revised here, that will be a right turn only. So that means all the traffic that's currently going up to take a left can't take a left anymore. So that means they're going to have to go back down to the roundabout, go all the way over to Indiana, and to go back up to get to Karcher. So I wanted to make sure that was a valid point, because that means you have 3 neighborhoods no longer to be able to go up, they have to go down to the roundabout. The new grade school, all that traffic has to go down to the roundabout, okay? And Valley View at the very top, up there, Gym Academy, also now has to go down to the roundabout. So all that needs to be thought about on how much traffic is going to be pushing on that roundabout. Now also, of course, the 1,000 homes that are going in with Rubina Ranch, and now we're going to add this apartment complex, all right there. My second concern on traffic right there would be the right exit only going out of the gas station onto Montana. You've got a high school kitty corner to that. A lot of the kids are going to go in there to get coffee and such. Now you're putting a lot of pressure just on the other exit. If people go out and take a right to go on Montana, and their original intent is to go north, that means they're going to have to go through the Heartleaf or Arrowleaf neighborhood to turn around. So to me, that is a little bit of danger for families and kids that are in there, having an excessive amount of traffic that is going to turn into that neighborhood to turn around because they took a right hand only and they need to get back to go the other direction. So that's my concerns.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. We have Dave Marco signed up in opposition and chose not to speak. Is that still true? Okay. And then JT Schramm, not wanting to speak. Okay, but also in opposition. Dan Diaz would like to speak. Come on up. You have name and address into the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yeah, my name's Dan Diaz, 1220 Talon Court, Caldwell, Idaho. Retired Chief District Attorney Investigator. I retired in 2019. I have some documents that I'd like to pass on to everybody here to have you guys follow along or look at.
Thank you.
I also have 3 pictures, but I don't know how I would get those displayed.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll have that capacity.
The 3 pictures would be actually the first 3 of that document that I just gave you guys. I'm here with regards to the health and safety of the area, okay? And let me explain that. If you look in the first picture that you got that I just gave you guys, you can see the relationship of the Phyllis Canal to where the pumps are going to be. There are underground tanks that hold the petrol, okay? And those leak, okay? And so the other articles that I have there, 3 different articles, and it's just a matter of time as to when they're going to leak. We don't know whether it's going to be 5 years, 15 years, 30 years, 50 years, but at some point, they're going to leak. And when they leak, it's going to go into the canal, and all those particulates are going to be carried downstream to every lot, every subdivision, every crop downstream, okay? So this is going to be possibly a huge health and safety issue with regards to this, okay? And not only the health and safety, but then you've also got the cost for cleanup, okay? Which, there's one article in there that talks about the cost, which it's enormous. So that's one of my largest concerns, is the health and safety. I don't want gas particulates being sprayed on my lawn and then having my grandchildren playing on my lawn. Okay, that's my concern, because they do leak, okay, and that's what those articles that I shared with you guys talk about, okay? It's a huge problem throughout the United States and throughout the world with these underground tanks leaking. And we're talking feet, the distance from the canal to where these buried tanks are gonna be. That's a major problem in my opinion, okay? I asked you all to do your own research with regards to this also, okay? And this is just a potential problem in the future that could happen, okay? And then we're gonna have a big mess, okay? And I'm trying to help to prevent that. But please do your own research, because there's tons out there with regards to leaking buried tanks. Gonna move on now to the single lane roundabout, okay? That's not gonna have enough capacity, in my opinion, okay? Currently, the Homedale gets backed up. Okay, when school's in session, or when it's entering, or when they're leaving, I've been having problems getting out of my subdivision, okay? So now we're gonna add Verbana Ranch with all their units, we're gonna add this, we're gonna have people coming to,
That's your time. I'll let you finish your last sentence.
okay, people coming to this, and so we're gonna be making more traffic at this same location here,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you. That was your 3 minutes.
Okay, well, you guys let him continue on afterwards, but I would expect the same, but apparently not.
It was a response to a question we were going to ask. So we have Pep Waite signed up to speak.
Pep Waite, 1910 East Homedale Road, southwest corner of Homedale in Indiana. We also own 10 acres in the northeast corner of Indiana, Homedale, that's agricultural, and we're farming now. I appreciate your goals. Your mission statement is to preserve high quality of life for its residents, workers, and visitors. Thank you for that. I've learned a lot since we've had this introduction of this development down here, and I am concerned about the same things that these previous gentlemen are concerned about. We live on the corner. We gave up our well to our agriculture for the roundabout. It's only a one-lane roundabout. It doesn't provide access to keep the traffic flowing. We're affected every day because of that. And just as a couple of months ago, I didn't realize there was a roundabout planned for Homedale and Montana, but a single is not going to work. It needs to be a double at least. I'm against the development at this point, which I could be maybe later on. But I agree with Mr. Diaz about the canal and the gas station. We have agricultural, we get our irrigation water from that. I'm concerned about that. And if you look at the map, they've only got 2 entrances. If I'm reading this right, they've got an entrance by that coffee shop. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I've seen the traffic that has down by Walmart with that Dutch Brothers, and there's cars and everything everywhere. You can't turn left, there's a stoplight on 10th Avenue, then they have to go that way. And you can't turn right because you go right into the intersection in Cloud. There's at least 15 buses that the high school has during the school year. There's 7 or 8 buses from the middle school. I was told that there's buses from the high school that have to go to the middle school to get the students, or vice versa. So you have everything going to that intersection, and I don't feel it is prepared properly to take all that traffic. And I'm concerned about up the entrance to where the grade school is. There's not a pedestrian crossing with flashing lights like they have in front of the high school. I'm concerned about the safety of the children in our area. And so is the high school, so is the school board. So I just want you to reconsider, and I would really like to know, I appreciate your questions, Mr. Boutros, that you asked this gal. And I also would like to know what are the things that contribute to your decision of whether or not you approve of this development. I mean, I don't think you make the final decision, but you recommend to the city, is that correct?
Correct, to council.
So how do you make your decision of the recommendation to the city council is my question.
Yeah, so this is an opportunity for you to just provide us information, but as part of this process, we do deliberate, so you'll watch us deliberate as we make a recommendation here shortly.
You're going to do it right tonight?
We will ultimately make a decision on this case that will go to council, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I have Patricia Aston signed up in opposition. Did you want to speak? Okay. Sorry.
Probably makes more sense than me. Because I actually thought this was the town council. I just left my glasses back.
Name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Patricia Aston, 1046 Caldwell, I'm sorry, Homedale, 10496 Homedale Avenue. Not Homedale, geez, I'm nervous. Too nervous. Shenandoah Court. Anyway, I attended the town council representatives from the seed company that made it critical that their work is not just for Caldwell, but globally. They showed the unchecked development threatens farmland that feeds people, creates jobs, and sustains our heritage, not only for here, but for the world. Well, that was the town council, so I have to skip what I wrote there, but unchecked growth is just ruining us. Now, I don't know, I think this is just, we've already approved it. This is to annex into the city so they can build more. Quit letting them annex into the city. Am I correct? Is that what this is about?
This would, one of the things that we will decide is a recommendation, whether it's to approve or deny. For annexation is one of the items that we're considering tonight, yes.
Okay, so if you don't allow the annexing, they still can build?
No.
No, okay, well, I recommend that you don't approve. I do like it that they're wanting to put handicap in, but if they really care, it should be in all the units, not just the bottom floor, because that's what, 10 people in the whole county? Anyway, so I drove through Meridian yesterday and thought, is this what Caldwell is turning into? Overbuilt, overrun, and overwhelmed. Our schools are bursting, our roads are strained, our water supply outlook is concerning at best. We are already beyond capacity, and yet developers continue to be welcomed with open arms. So I am here tonight to urge you to say no to this annexation.
Thank you. I have William Tinker signed up in opposition but does not want to speak. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. I have Michelle, is it Stanrich, signed up to speak? Excuse me. Name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Michelle Stanovich. My address is 14566 Dartmoor Street. I'm in the Arrowleaf subdivision right behind the proposed development. I do appreciate all the questions that were asked regarding traffic because that really did answer a lot of my questions. My email is in your packet. My concerns still remain traffic and safety. I like that the study was redone after Verbena Ranch and the new Falcon Ridge Elementary. I still agree with Scott that the traffic flow might not have been considered and is a huge concern. But just safety in general for our kids. Mr. Dodson made the comment that there are 3 schools walkable nearby, and I don't think they're walkable at all. I think it's difficult to get to the elementary school. My kids were in middle school last year. I wouldn't let either of them walk that far. And now definitely not with all of the traffic that's coming. My son will be entering his freshman year at Valley View High. I can see the school from my backyard, and it still freaks me out that he's going to have to cross a busy roundabout with this density just to get to school. And I drive that route all the time, and I'm not sure that they've taken things into account that residents see. You know, the sun's glare heading west on Homedale towards that roundabout in the mornings after school drop-off is intense, and sometimes you cannot see. And I worry about the roundabout. I worry about safety. I think Scott's points were excellent on traffic flow. I think Dan and Cindy's points on the gas station are spot on. I would not recommend that be installed there. In Arrowleaf, we're locked in. Our only 2 exit points are onto Montana. I exit off Bayou. Now, with the gas station exit, right turn only, and the apartment exit, you've just put 2 more traffic flow patterns out onto Montana between Bayou and the roundabout. That's a short section of street. I don't know if you've been there, but those 3 outputs in such a short area, it's going to make it near impossible for our community to leave our development. So I think that about sums it up. Brent, I do appreciate you not putting windows facing my backyard. So definitely keep that, move those trash cans, and if you need an amenity and open space, throw in a dog park. You're welcome. I also don't like that there's pedestrian access between the property and Arrowleaf because I do worry about them parking on our streets. I know we say we have a lot of parking. We just eliminated some parking. You could have up to 3 cars per apartment. So that concerns me too. Thank you for your time.
Where is that in relation to?
It's directly to the south.
In the
Yeah.
R2, it's an R2
Yes,
zone?
that R2 south.
Is it single family or they're multifamily homes?
It's all single family.
Okay, thank you.
They're all about, they're about 6,000 to 7,000 square foot
It was the
lots.
rest of that orange on the map, but I was just couldn't, yeah.
Maybe we can't pull it up like that.
I have it
It's
right here.
complicated, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I have a couple others signed up in opposition. Kiara Preston, not wanting to speak, is that correct?
I've actually learned a little bit about this project, and I would like to.
Okay,
speak.
right. So name and address into the record, and then you have 3 minutes.
Ciara Preston, 4804 Oxbow Avenue, Caldwell.
Go ahead.
And I grew up in the Bay Area, and I watched the bottom dump trucks cut the hills away and go down and fill the bay 24 hours a day for years because I lived up in the hills. And I remember 101 when it had stoplights on it, and my father used to stop and buy chickens and corn where Moffett Field is. And that area is so crowded now, it's not even habitable. And if you're a rig, they don't even have a filling station anywhere in the Bay Area because they've built so much. The orchards were all knocked down, and that's what we're doing here, and it's breaking my heart because I saw that happen in Silicon Valley, and it's just a crowded mess. I'm glad I'm not there anymore, and I thought I moved to a more peaceful area, and now learning that we're not even going to have access to 55 from Montana, it's going to be a traffic nightmare again. And I didn't know that you were even considering putting apartments. This is an area that has single-family homes, and I don't think that we need that much density, and I'm sorry that you're even considering that for that area. I see the neighborhoods and the people that live there and their schools, and they're happy with the way things are. So I'm not in favor in all of this development. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I have Kirsten Hutton signed up to speak. Come on up. Name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Kirsten Hutton, 16624 Smoky Mountain Avenue, Caldwell, Idaho.
Thank you.
While I appreciate the fact that a traffic impact report has been done for the cars, it does not seem like there has been enough done on walking, on pedestrian traffic. Because we have a lot of teenagers and kids who walk all over the place there. And I'm really worried and concerned, like, to the point where I'm like worried about having the roundabout because people don't look. They don't check for pedestrians on any of the roundabouts in this city right now. So why having a roundabout next to the schools? That's a poor decision. It's an extremely poor decision. I was a teacher, and that's something so student safety is something of great concern to me. And I beg you to look further into that. I'm not sure if the roundabout is part of the development or a city thing, but if there's going to be that much traffic, people need to have a stoplight to make them look to see if there's student traffic. There's going to be kids walking, there's going to be teenagers walking, there's going to be adults walking their kids to school. There's people who bike that road, a lot of people who bike that road. So is there going to be a bike lane? Like, is that even a possibility? This is something that really needs to be addressed before this moves forward. I like a lot of the things that they have planned, but I'm really concerned about the walking traffic, and it should not be a roundabout if there's schools anywhere near, because people don't stop. And I've seen kids trying to get across the current four-way stop. People don't. It's my turn. They don't stop for the kids now. So I don't understand how a roundabout is going to help the community in any way possible. In fact, it's a detriment to it because people are going to get hurt. Thank you for your time.
Then I have Kevin Hutton signed up to speak. Name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Right. Kevin Hutton, 16624 Smoky Mountain Avenue in Caldwell. The issue to me is, it seems, and this seems to be a chronic issue across all of Caldwell, is trying to cram too much into too little of a space. I looked at the plots, the map they have for the commercial parking and everything. You've got businesses planned with like 4 parking spots in front of them. Where's everybody supposed to park? How are you supposed to access these services and, amenities and things? It's a chaotic issue. In the next 5 to 7 years, all those fields all the way out to 10th Avenue are all going to be houses. Gas station, sure, you want to put a gas station there, move it down away from the intersection. Put it in a different commercial available spot. You have 3 elementary schools or 3 schools within walking distance. you're about to add 5,000 to 6,000 cars a day on those roads. And if you can't access Karcher Road from Montana Avenue to head west or to head east, there's nothing out west. And if you can't turn east on there, you're either forcing them to 10th Avenue or Indiana Avenue, which already they can't handle it. That the roundabouts, I don't understand the city's infatuation with roundabouts. I don't understand why we're doing a light or not doing a light. I feel like that would be, again, like my wife said, it would force people to stop and look. I don't know if you've used the roundabouts at Ustick Road, for instance. I see people trying to cross there all the time and they can't. Everybody looks left because they're waiting for the next car to come through so they can clear. If somebody's trying to come from this side, they're invisible. And I mean, we've seen it. There was, I think, a child hit near Sage Valley Middle School earlier this year. There's big concerns about all these schools and being walking distance. Where's the sidewalks? Where's, you know, the safety for these kids that are supposed to be walking to school? Those are our major concerns. That's all I got. Thanks for your time.
With that, that's everybody who signed up for public testimony. So with that, I'll ask Brett to come on up, and you will have 3 minutes for a final rebuttal.
Mr. Chair, prior to Brent speaking, may I touch on some of the items that are more city-oriented for the residents?
Sure.
Thank you. Some great questions that were asked. I'll try to speak to more so of the overall questions versus project-specific, just to make sure it's clear. I'll leave the parking to the applicant. I guess the setback buffer along the south boundary, just want to reiterate that they did increase that from 10 feet, was the original. They've gone to 15. That was a point of condition within the staff report because the multifamily code requires 25 feet. They're working to get as close as they can. Ultimately, they're probably going to be asking for a deviation from that from City Council. The recommendation criteria, so there was a question regarding, how do you guys approve or recommend or however that works. There are specific criteria within code that talks about what the what the commissioners are reviewing these things against, and every application has specific criteria. Those are both what the commission has to review and what the applicant is trying to meet, and then also what the city can and can't get sued for. So there's very specific criteria. As far as the process, just to reiterate and educate here that this is just a recommending body. None of these applications are being approved or denied tonight. They would be recommended to City Council, including the special use permit, because that is contingent upon these. They will run concurrently with the annexation and the plat, and those will all go to the City Council hearing, the future City Council hearing. So this is no final decision tonight. And currently they're in the county, so they just continue to do whatever they can do in the county if they get denied by council later on. I'll leave access points to the applicant. And then the overall transportation plan, definitely understood on the concerns there with, it's going to be what they call, I think, an R-cut intersection or something similar to that at the Montana and Karcher now, which means that you will not be able to turn left from Montana onto Karcher and vice versa. However, with the Verbena Ranch project that is humming and moving along pretty well, Moss will get constructed all the way from 10th to Montana. So there will be an easier route for this project as well as the existing residents in Arrowleaf to head south, head to Moss, and then back out to 10th. So they wouldn't even have to use the roundabout at Montana Homedale. At least the overall transportation plan anticipates that. I'm sure Brent and our city engineer can speak to that better than me, but I just wanted to touch on those main points there.
Thank you. All right, Brent.
Members of the commission, also thank you to the public. I recognize it's a lot of time out of people's schedule to come, and that the concerns that are expressed are important and are important to the citizens. And so I know that by de facto you don't like me because I'm presenting this project. If you're against it, I appreciate, but I do think it's valuable and helpful to exercise the public discourse and do that. Thank you. I want to just try to address the comments and questions and concerns that have come up. First of all, gas station convenience store. Thank you for the comments on that. frankly, if something came along that was better, we'd be happy to do that. One time when we were talking at a neighborhood meeting, someone said, well, why not a Trader Joe's? I'm like, man, get Trader Joe's to come here and we'll totally do that. It is really a market-driven thing. And so, and the gas station is what seems to fit the site best. So anyway, but it's not set in stone. If we had other users, a sit-down restaurant, that would be welcome. We just are attempting to use what is known in order to adapt the site to the most probable user. I have several kids that go to Valley View High School, and I will for a lot of years. I've had 3 of my kids graduate there, so we are there a lot, and we do appreciate the concerns about that. So anyway, parking. Totally appreciate that there's concern about parking. No one wants parking to overflow out of a multifamily development onto their street or onto other streets or other places. At this point, the development exceeds the parking requirements. And even if we reduce some of the parking in order to get our open space to where it needs to be, we'll still have more than the required parking in the development. Another point that we owe thanks to the staff team for identifying, the parking spaces that we have proposed are larger than they're required to be. A typical parking space is only 18 feet deep. We've got 20-foot deep parking spaces. We can reduce that some, and that'll help allow us to shift the buildings further away from Heartleaf, Airleaf. Let's see here. Architectural surfaces on buildings, Cindy mentioned that, and that is the plan, to have no less than 3 architectural surfaces on each building. Hardy board, siding, board and bat, and stucco would be used on each surface. That's what's proposed in that, and so we do propose 3 different architectural surfaces. And Cindy, if I'm missing what you're saying, please grab me afterwards and set me right. Okay. To Scott's questions and concerns, traffic, the setback and the building height, thank you for your appreciation of that. I also owe some appreciation to a gentleman named John B., who reached out to me and asked some questions, and I always think that's great. Also got a lot of great dialogue with several of the citizens at the neighborhood meeting.
That's the timer. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I guess I'll get to that concern. Montana and Karcher. So I worked in public works. I was a public works director for Caldwell, actually, for 13 years. Worked for Caldwell for 19 years. Helped a lot with planning of the Karcher. We worked a lot in the 2000s to get ITD to take some kind of method that will help ameliorate the traffic issues with Karcher Road, including trying to use the concept of the El Camino Real in California, which is basically have an extra lane that accommodates right turns. Later in 2011, Idaho Transportation Department worked with us, City of Nampa, and other stakeholders to come up with a corridor plan for Karcher called the median U-turn treatment. And that is what went out to bid with the Karcher Road intersection. And the intent there is that although you come at intersections like Montana, Florida to a right only, that you have an opportunity to U-turn. We analyzed the delay per vehicle that would occur with that, and it was 13 seconds to be able to make that right turn movement, 38 seconds total by the time you were able to weave over, get in the left turn lane to make the U-turn, and then go back in the intended direction of travel, which is significantly better than the traffic signal function at that point. So I do believe that U-turn opportunity is still intended to be part of that corridor plan, and I'd be happy to be corrected by Haley if she knows better than that. But it won't be something that prohibits the ability to move there.
Thank you. All right, this time, commissioners, if there's any last questions for the applicant or for staff before we close public testimony.
Mr. Horton, you mentioned that you, sorry,
No,
sure.
go
You mentioned that the parking lots, or parking stalls are going to be 20 feet in length. What is the standard width that you're proposing on those?
I don't remember off the top. They're either 9 or 10. I'm sorry for not knowing off the
9 or
top.
10.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Vance, it's 9 feet wide by 20. They have 7-foot sidewalks. Caldwell Code allows, if they have 7-foot sidewalks, they can reduce the depth of the parking stall striping to 18 feet. And hence, I mentioned that within the staff report, that's where they can kind of shift the whole site. If they do that for even just 2 drive aisles, they got 8 feet right there, just to pull them a little further away from the residents.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So at this time, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Commissioner Boutros, second for Commissioner Whitbeck. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, now it's time for us as a commission to deliberate and come up with a decision. Commissioners.
As always, I have a lot of things, so you guys go first.
Commissioner Vance?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the time, still learning. This is my first day this time, and so I haven't had an appropriate amount of time to review all of this, but I am learning a lot, and I appreciate everyone answering my questions and as I'm learning on this. So I will just leave it to my seniors to kind of answer on some of this.
Thank you. Commissioner Whitbeck?
I'll defer to for a moment.
I have a couple thoughts, and likely you may hit on some of these that I just want to throw out there. One thing it sounds like the developer is really trying to be accommodating, and it sounds like there's a good rapport in being flexible to the extent that they can. Overall, my concern as I sit here and look at this is really the compatibility of the area. Is although it be, and this, I have the map here on my screen, but the one that was up earlier, although this is zoned R2, and the south of that is R2, if they're all single-family homes, there's the compatibility of that doesn't make sense to me. And I think that's also part of the work when we're doing land use and reviewing land use. It's that compatibility to that neighborhood. And so that's probably my biggest concern with this area. I think there's a lot of, if it were in a different spot, it could be really great and have a lot of good opportunities, but I'm concerned with the compatibility. Commissioner Boutros.
And I agree with that. So I'm going to go through in some detail here. So page 12 of the agenda packet shows that this application is compliant with all applicable city codes, regulations, and policies, but pages 29 and 30 describe non-compliances with code, and Joe actually addressed those in his presentation. Further than that, page 13 states that they're asking to utilize the special use permit process to reduce the multifamily buffer requirement along the south boundary. And the southern boundary abuts a single-family residential area. I think they need to comply with code. And that's going to mess up the development, and I apologize for that, but it needs to be in compliance to be a good neighbor. Page 14 states that the Valley View School District provided a school location of future children, all nearby schools, no opposition or support stated, but noted future projections of elementary school enrollment numbers due to approved development may exceed capacity at multiple schools. The Valley View letter actually states that the district will be over capacity in 2029 due to other already approved developments before this development is complete in 2030, the build-out year. And looking at page 158 of the application, you could read the Valley View letter yourselves. It's more strongly worded than was implied in the application. Valley View is getting more and more clear about they don't have capacity after a certain date, and there's no path for them to have capacity. Okay. So Joe already addressed the minimum open space requirements. There's a staff recommendation that goes into detail about changes to the plat that could get the application closer to meeting the open space requirement. But even if those recommendations are taken, they would only be halfway to meeting the total open space requirement. And Joe talked about the proposed patios and decks needing to be 60 square feet. That's something that's in the new code, and they need to meet that. Right now, they're not. I don't know what changes would be required to this development to meet that space requirement, but that's another point of non-compliance with code. You've talked a little bit about the trash enclosure locations, And that just indicates the plat needs more work to replan where those are going to go. So, in summary, this application suffers from several faults. It's incompatible with the surrounding neighborhoods. It's not compliant with the code-required common open spaces or private spaces. Valley View School District is going to be over capacity by the build-out year of this development. Traffic is already difficult, and it will become worse, even with the understanding that there are mitigations in place. And the new issue that came up tonight that we don't have the expertise to address is the proximity of gas station tanks to the Phyllis Canal. That sounds like it might be a big deal, but we don't have the expertise to be able to assess that. That kind of issue requires a deeper dive on that topic with people who could say what kind of underground structures are required. So we can't really address that in what we're doing. But I've seen enough to say, Commissioners, I can't support this development and recommend that this be denied.
My greatest concern is still the traffic issue, and it would seem that with this particular project, the amount of children would increase greatly, and that part of the discussion about the roundabout and the proximity of adding retail on that intersection as well is a concern. And if you go up Montana, Montana and Karcher is already a high rate of accidents and fatalities. And so all of this concern, my greatest concern is the impact of traffic.
I agree. That safety, but I mean, always, and because there's schools so close to that area. My only other comment as I was reviewing my notes from all the discussion, my wondering around the density, the bonus density, and the 8 amenities that are provided, would we count a EV parking lot as an actual amenity? It'd be great for those, 3 or 4, however many, get there first and have that, but that's not like a pool that somebody could choose to use or a park in which they can go and use. And so that was one that I don't know if I necessarily consider that an amenity that would count towards, giving the density bonus, the additional points either.
Only towards that community, not necessarily for the rest of the community.
Yeah, and typically I think it is for their own community, but I mean, it's a finite amount of, if you have an electric car, then that's going to be great for you, and if you get there first, that's going to be great for you. Right. Any other comments from commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I can do that.
Mr. Boutros.
All right. Based upon the testimony and evidence in record in this matter and upon the findings of fact and conclusions of law set forth herein, I do hereby determine and move that the request for annexation of parcel R327210 with a zoning designation of C1 Neighborhood Commercial and R2 Community Residential, a preliminary plat for 21 multifamily residential lots and 10 commercial lots, and a special use permit for retail sales with gasoline for Kane Center subdivision is recommended for denial because it is incompatible with the surrounding neighborhoods. It is not compliant with the code required common open spaces or private spaces, and Valley View School District will be over capacity by the build-out year of this development. Further, traffic is already difficult. We are concerned about safety, and we are concerned that the proximity of the gas station tanks to the Phyllis Canal could be an emergent problem.
Thank you. So that was a motion for Commissioner Boutros. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second from Commissioner Whitbeck. A roll call. So just an affirmative vote would be to deny it. So roll call, please.
Boutros.
Yes.
Whitbeck.
Yes.
Zamora.
Yes.
Larson's not here, Harmon's not here, and Vance.
Yes.
And with that, that will be the recommendation that moves forward to council. And we will close this hearing and move on to the next item on the agenda. But with that, I'm actually going to request that we take a 5-minute break. So we'll come back at 7:09 or 7:39, excuse me. we'll move on with our agenda. We're moving on to item 8 of our agenda, which is new business. So move one item. So action item 1, I'll open this public hearing. This is case number ANN 24-8 and SUB 24-33. And with that, staff report, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioners. Katie Wright, Associate Planner, 205 South 6th Avenue. Before you tonight is Copper Point, ANN 2408 and SUB 2433, and this has been analyzed under the newly adopted code as the last one. The project location is 8.46 acre parcel located on the southeast corner of Ustick Road and Florida Avenue. The site has frontage along both Florida and Ustick. The project site is currently surrounded by single-family residential to the north, commercial to the east, undeveloped land to the south, and existing and approved mixed-use developments to the west. There are 9 developments within a 1-mile radius of the subject site that are either actively under construction or have been approved for entitlements. The applications before you tonight are for an annexation of 10.37 acres of land into the city of Caldwell with the initial zone of R2. You may notice that's a different acreage. That just includes the adjacent right-of-way to provide a potential connection for any future development. And then a preliminary plat for a mixed-use subdivision. Tonight's request consists of the applicant's proposal for an annexation with the R2 zone. The purpose of the R2 Community Residential Zone is to provide areas by zoning procedures in accordance with the comprehensive plan that accommodates a larger variety of lot sizes and housing types. This includes missing middle housing types such as triplexes, fourplexes, and small-scale multifamily or sixplexes. Supporting our secondary land uses may be commercial activities and services that are generally found on the major intersections of arterial and collector roadways, which this is on the corner of an arterial and a collector roadway. The proposed development is surrounded by R2 to the north, south, and east, commercial to the east and west, and R1 to the west with some Canyon County property in all directions. Staff finds the R2 zone is a compatible zoning district next to other R2 zoned properties, along with the commercial zones in the area along Ustick, as this proposal does include some commercial uses along the roadway as required by city code. The comp plan place type is community center, and the proposed development is consistent with the intent of the comprehensive plan, as the intent is to have commercial along the arterial roadways and a gradual reduction in land use intensity out from the road. The proposed density is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. In April 2023, the applicant submitted for an annexation with the zone R3, a comp plan amendment from medium density to high density residential, and an SUP to allow for 215 apartment units with an overall density of 25.21 dwelling units per acre. This proposal was denied by City Council due to their desire to not have a comp plan amendment for the increase in density for the area. After several conversations with staff regarding the new comp plan and the new zoning code, the applicant has provided the proposal you're seeing here today. This proposal is for 128 residential units with 12 threeplexes, 5 fourplexes, and 12 sixplexes with 4 commercial lots. All residential uses on this site are permitted, and there are several commercial uses that are permitted within the R2 zone. Commercial uses will be reviewed along with their respective parking and adequate landscaping at the time of building permit and business permit. The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance with city codes and policies, and staff finds the proposed development is in compliance with all parking and landscaping requirements, all bulk standards for lot size, setbacks, frontage, and height of buildings, all multifamily requirements such as facade, landscaping, open space, and amenities, and all other zoning and subdivision ordinances. The proposed development will have adequate site access, and all utilities are available or will be available as outlined in the engineering staff report. Public agencies were notified and asked to provide comments. The only agencies that responded were Nampa Highway District 1, stating they had no concerns. ITD stated they anticipate little impact of Highway 55 with this proposal and have no concerns. And City of Nampa Planning and Zoning has no comments. Staff has received no public comments at this time. The site-specific conditions for this project have been discussed with the applicant, and they are accepting of them. The specific conditions are all rather general, either mentioning additional reviews at the time of submittal for future applications, or items that need to be submitted prior to City Council to ensure the proposal is in conformance with the city code and comp plan. These items include an updated landscape plan that will identify fencing around proposed private open space for the townhome-style units, and a 10-foot multimodal pathway along Ustick and Florida, which the applicant has agreed to. They will also be providing an updated open space exhibit that reflects the calculations shown on the landscape plan. They're well over their required open space. This is just a correction. Updated elevations with greater variety in roof pitch will be submitted, as well as an updated lighting exhibit that will include additional lighting along pathways. And per the new code, developments along key corridors, which Ustick is called out as, go through a design review process, and this will be done prior to building permits. In the review, there were a few items for building facade that were mentioned as being conditioned. The conditions were deleted in the staff report that was sent out as the applicant had addressed those items, yet the note above was not removed during the analysis portion of that. So that will be modified prior to the final report for City Council. And then staff recommends that if the commission recommends approval of the request, that such requests are subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of facts, conclusions of law, and order of decision. And thank you.
Ask Michael to come on up and provide his presentation for no more than 10 minutes, please.
Good evening, Chairman Zamora and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Michael Nye, 4253 West Lovegood Lane, Meridian, Idaho 83646. I represent Copper Point Development, and I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present our proposed multifamily development, which we are confident will be a vibrant and thoughtful designed addition to our city. And I say our city because we are part of the city. Our family's been a part of this community. Grandfather was homesteaded out on Sunny Slope 100 plus years ago, and this is where we grew up. We had our family, we had our home. So what we are proposing is part of us, and so we've tried to be very thoughtful with what we are proposing, that not only meets code and requirements, but also is a benefit to our community. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our city planner, Katie Wright, thank you, and the entire planning and zoning staff for the invaluable assistance in helping us reach this stage. As a small local developer and builder, we are deeply committed to creating communities that align with the character and needs of Caldwell, Idaho. Tonight, we are requesting approval for the annexation of the property and the approval of the preliminary plat to bring it into the city's jurisdiction and align with your comprehensive plan. Annexing this property will contribute to the city's tax base, generating revenue that will support community maintenance and growth. In addition, it will create both temporary construction jobs and permanent positions, such as property management and commercial tenants. 2 years ago, Copper Point was initially proposed as a high-density multifamily project. While it was approved by the Planning Commission, it was ultimately denied by the City Council, as Katie mentioned, primarily due to concerns over density, parking, and its fitting within the city's comprehensive plan ultimately that would be changed. We have carefully considered and addressed all of the Council's concern in our redesign. This new proposal aligns with the goals and visions outlined in the city's comprehensive plan, and it complements other nearby projects already approved by the Commission and the Council. In response to the Council's feedback and following two major revisions, this new design within the existing R2 zone reflects a 41% reduction in density, a 50% increase in site amenities, and a 12% increase in parking above city code requirements. This includes covered parking, EV charging parking, parking stations, and bicycle parking compared to the originally submitted project. Additionally, the project fully complies with the newly adopted city code and comprehensive plan. Copper Point's mixed use is designed to meet the current demand for both quality housing and commercial space. Our plan includes 10,000 square feet of commercial space, helping to support local businesses while aligning with the city's vision for growth. The development will feature a variety of housing types and architectural styles, showcasing a commitment to high-quality design. The plan includes townhomes, two-story apartments, and three-story walk-ups. Notably, our first-floor units will be designed to accommodate any demand for accessible and special needs housing. This mix of housing options ensures that the project contributes to the city's goals of housing variety and affordability. Jim Glancy with Glancy Rockwell Architects is here tonight, and in a moment, he will provide additional details on design and the visual appeal of the project. Furthermore, the development exceeds the city's open space requirements by 40% and offers a range of amenities beyond the city's required quantity of 4 amenities. These amenities fall under varying categories, and which are the following: quality of life. We have the amenities of a clubhouse and fitness facility. Open space, we have picnic areas and a plaza that's adjacent to the clubhouse. Recreational amenities, we have a sports court, a tot lot, and walking paths. And for multimodal, we have the EV charging stations that were mentioned before, and a bicycle repair station. And we look at this as a community advancement because with people able to commute right from the location where our property is located directly to the east, that's where lots of shopping and businesses are located. And we see with the current developments that are designed to our east that bicycles can easily be a big part, as well as walking within walking distance of those businesses. The project's location near key shopping and community businesses makes alternative transportation modes, such as bicycles, particularly viable, enhancing the overall connectivity of the neighborhood. This development is designed as a single-phase project, with all of the units managed by a single property management team. The property management office will be conveniently located on-site to streamline tenant services, as well as landscape and building maintenance. And at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Jim Glancy to come and present some information on the buildings and the building types.
Station time? 3 minutes and 46
I'll be
seconds.
very quick. Jim Glancy with Glancy Rockwell Architects, 1257 West River Street, Boise, Idaho. Michael covered most of what I have to say, so I will just continue on with generally how the site was designed. You can see the site plan, 128 units on the board. The next sheet shows the main traffic pattern through the site. Our access to Florida is as far south as we felt we could, and we moved the access to Ustick as far to the east as possible, which would be a right in, right out. The traffic goes diagonally through the site with the clubhouse more central and several pickleball courts and the open space. So it gives a good traffic flow through the site where the rest of the apartments surround it and don't have to be backing up, pulling in, pulling out. Also for access with the access for the commercial space that's up on the northeast portion of the site. This next slide shows the townhouse style units that we have. So along the south side of the property and some onto Florida, they're 2-story walk-up townhouse style. So the living space is on the first floor, bedrooms on the second. They're 2-bedroom units. You don't have balconies overlooking neighbors. and there's a single-family home on the southwest corner. We have a 25-foot setback specifically there, and good screening to avoid impacts to the neighbor. The next group that I'm highlighting are on the corner. We have 2-story, 3-bedroom units. These are our fourplexes. We don't have many 3-bedroom units. We have some here. There's some good open space, and we separated those from the other side. So those are 2-story. Internally, we have the 3-story 6-plex units. They're small footprints, as there's only 2 units per floor, and they're walk-ups. As Michael indicated, the ground floors would be accessible, and the others are not. There's good connectivity between all the units throughout the site as well. We're showing there's 4 lots on the north for the commercial, and we're showing 2 buildings at this time. It could end up being 1 building or 3, however that is worked through. This shows the buffer we have on the corner, the intersection. We have a walking path going around on that side. We also have extensive landscaping and berming to buffer from the roundabout, and the lower height buildings at that corner will also help. The internal is the main open space area. You can see the clubhouse. It has barbecue, picnic areas, a tot lot there, 2 racquetball courts, a large grassy area for games or whatever. And again, there's interconnected pathways throughout the site. The buildings, the colors aren't exactly finalized, but these are the general building designs. We have a multitude of materials and colors, and we're using vertical board and bat siding. We have some shingle siding, we have horizontal siding, as well as masonry. We're looking at stone, and we are considering using brick as well. So we have a lot of mix, and I know we have to work through that with the design review. And that's it for my presentation. I thank the staff for all their help. It's been a long process with the new code. It's very extensive, your planning and zoning code now. And thank you for your time.
All right. This time, commissioners, any questions for staff or the applicant? Commissioner Boutros.
I can't help myself. I have a question which is really not important. What is a bicycle repair station?
So we like to put emphasis on bike transportation. And so a bicycle repair station is a stand that's got tools and equipment on it that they can repair any spokes, they can repair tires. There's tools there that they take a bicycle apart. So it's a little hard to explain, but it's a stand with multiple tools on it that are connected to ropes that they can use to pull their bike up to, pull tires off, chains, repair anything on a bicycle, and gets them back on the road. So it's an outdoor bike repair station.
And you're not imagining the tools are going to wander away. I was thinking maybe it would have compressed air, which is certainly a feature, but apparently not.
There is a pump.
Thank you for
they
clarifying.
do have a pump on those pump stations, so that they can use. It's a manual, but the tools are all connected mechanically, so you can't just like cut something and run off with it. Like they've got chains and different things. So
it would be. I've been working on bikes since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It would be hard to use a spoke wrench that was tied to something. But never mind. Thank you.
So that's what it is.
Thank you. No other, Commissioner Vance.
I have a question for staff. On the commercial lots, what would the proposed zoning for those be?
Chair and Commissioner Vance. Yes, that's a good question. So it's actually the whole property is going to be R2, but with the new code, there are several commercial uses that are permitted. If they were to propose something that would require a special use permit, it would come back and be heard. So.
But at any point, could those lots be developed as residential versus commercial?
No.
Only commercial. Okay.
Commissioner Boutros.
I have a question for Katie. I didn't see a letter from Valley View School District in this package, but there was a statement that they did not express concern.
Chair and Commissioner, I did double check. They did not submit a letter. So if that were the case, that is incorrect, and I can make sure to correct that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, so we have several people signed up for public testimony. We have Ron Hodge, who signed up to speak. Ron? And these are those that signed up in favor.
My name is Ron Hodge. My address is 2606 West Jefferson Street, Boise, Idaho, 83702. I'm the land surveyor of record and represent the engineers of record. I'm here to answer any questions you might have about any of those elements of the plat. And I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure working on this project. Most of the jobs I work on these days, the architects and developers show up with a list of things they want me to do that are substandard and they're going to ask a variance on. I didn't have any of those on this.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Jolene, did you sign up not to speak, but in favor? Is that correct?
I am in favor, but I'm considering speaking.
Well, you're welcome to. Now's your time. You have come up and you can have 3 minutes.
All right. Wow.
Name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Jolene Basabi Carnegie, 11646 Lawrence Drive, Caldwell, Idaho, 83607. I've lived in Idaho before it was cool. I was born here, raised here. Michael and I share the same farm, our heritage farm that our grandfather established in the early 1900s. I love this development because it has a heart for community. Everybody wants to live in our fabulous community. We love it. People move here because they want community. They want quality of life, which we share. They want connection. And I support this because it supports that. I am also a taxpayer for Valley View School District. My picture's on the wall, my husband's picture's on the wall. All of our children graduated from Valley View. And Valley View is a great school district, and it's seen a lot of ups and downs. And I want our school district to remain strong. But, you know, Valley View is responsible for providing good quality education for all of our kids. So that's why I'm in support of it. And this has been very educational. Thank you all.
Thank you. Also in favor is Randy Carnegie. Would you like to speak? All right, come on up, name, address, and then you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Randy Carnegie, 11646 Lawrence Drive, Caldwell, Idaho. Thank you for this opportunity. After having the opportunity to sit through the last project, I see that many of the issues, and I totally agree with the decision that the commission made on that. I see many of those issues being addressed in this project, and for one, the location is much better. I don't think the traffic impact is going to be nearly as severe, primarily due to the fact that the ingress and egress of the location is good. Plus, we also have a roundabout there now that was just recently completed. So I think that will all aid in the traffic factor involved in that. Also, as my wife said, you know, the reality of life in this area is we're growing, and that's not going to change. And so we have to figure out a way to provide people with affordable housing. So I think multiple family dwellings is a good way to go in a lot of those situations. A lot of people can't afford to go out and buy their own home right now, especially with the impact that the realty market has on people today. So in many ways, this project makes a lot of sense. And I have to be in favor of it. Like my wife said, yes, it will add some load to the school district, but again, we're paying taxes. The school district is responsible for that, not your problem. You know, that's the reality of it. We've been paying taxes to the Valley View School District for, I don't know, most of my adult life, so. Anyway, very much in favor of this for all the reasons that have been discussed so far. I think it's a great project, and we got to have the growth. That's inevitable. This is a good way to do it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your testimony. Then I also have Jennifer Nye in favor but not wanting to speak. Is that correct? Okay. All right, so that's everybody that signed up to participate. So, Michael, you have 3 minutes for any rebuttal or any response that you'd like, any parting thoughts you'd like to leave.
Well, I don't have much for rebuttal, but I just want to finish my notes here by just saying, in summary, Copper Point offers multiple benefits to the city. It provides diverse and much-needed housing options, creates a cohesive and attractive neighborhood with high-quality amenities, supports walkability and active living, delivers new local jobs, expands the commercial tax base, and promotes sustainability and thoughtful growth within the framework of the city's comprehensive plan. This project aligns with the city's goals in several important ways. It directs growth to an area identified for expansion. It offers a variety of housing types, and it integrates a mixed-use component that fosters a walkable and usable neighborhood environment. We respectfully request your support for the annexation of this property and approval of the preliminary plat as presented. We, as a team, are committed to working closely with the city staff to meet all technical requirements and to deliver a community that the city will be proud to have within its boundaries. Thank you for your time and consideration. We look forward to partnering with the city on this project and see that this vision becomes a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Boutros,
I had a couple of traffic-related questions I neglected to ask staff, if I may. All right. The traffic impact study recommends that Indiana Avenue and Ustick Road intersection be expanded to a dual-lane roundabout. Is this in the capital improvement plan, and when is it programmed?
Commissioner Boutros, I apologize for the delay. I wanted to verify with our capital improvement plan. It is not currently programmed in our capital improvement plan at this time.
All right, thank you. Florida Avenue and Homedale Road is recommended to be reconstructed as a single-lane roundabout. Is that in the capital improvement plan?
That is in the capital improvement plan, and we are moving forward with the design of that roundabout next fiscal year. Well, so long as our budget as proposed is approved.
Okay, when do you expect operation?
We anticipate design next fiscal year, construction 2027, operation end of 2027.
Okay. The Solstice development is to the east of this development. What's the housing type in the Solstice development?
Chair Commissioner Boutros. Solstice is going to have 28 townhome units and 72 detached single-family, and they're also going to have 0.4 acres of commercial.
So are the townhomes close to this, or are single-family homes close to this?
Chair Commissioner Boutros, I apologize, I'm going off of memory. I have been working on this project. So based on my memory, the commercial is in the northwest corner of that development. And then the attached, I believe, are up along Ustick on just the other side of the access point into Solstice. So they'll be along Ustick.
Oh. So going south along the common boundary, it would be single-family homes.
Chair and Commissioner, that is correct. There isn't a direct touch there. There is a big chunk of undeveloped land that's right there between them. But based on my memory, and I apologize, I can look it up in a second, but
I thought the undeveloped land immediately to the east of this application was Solstice.
no, I apologize. On page 5 of the staff report, it does call out. It's just down a little bit. It would be number 1 called out on that, the approved developments.
I see the image here. Okay, and my last question is, the Beverly White property is immediately to the south. How close is this development to the residents on the Beverly White property?
Chair and Commissioner, let me pull up a good aerial really quick. Based on the aerial, it is not close to that property. Are you talking about the single-family home that's just
Yeah.
the out parcel?
Yeah.
So their development, they do have 25 feet on each of those property lines that's required by code. So it's a 25-foot setback right there where it's going to be landscaped, north and east.
Oh, is the Beverly White residence up in that cutout?
No, sorry, that is just a separate single-family home. The Beverly White property,
Yeah, so she's saying
I
this
apologize,
is not
the
the Beverly,
one I
this is not the Beverly White, there's a residence.
Can we pull
Chair
up-
and Commissioner, I am familiar with Beverly White's property. I did her annexation. The one that I'm familiar with that is her property is on Montana.
So this was marked as, so this is a different property owned by her?
Okay, so the out parcel happens to also be owned by Beverly White. Busy lady, it seems. And that just goes back to my other statement, that there is the 25-foot buffer on this property adjacent to both of those properties.
Thank you, so it's a non-issue.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry.
Yeah, that was everything.
Any other questions from commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion to close public testimony. Commissioner Whitbeck made motion.
Second.
Second for Commissioner Boutros. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, time for us to deliberate. Commissioners, Commissioner Vance?
I have nothing at this time.
I think this, I have the same reaction to this development as I did to the previous one. So it's interesting, Valley View didn't send a specific letter here, but their other letter covers this in general location and in time to build out. So the idea that Valley View is going to be over capacity by 2028 is as true for this development as it was for the other development. So that's still an issue. Traffic is still going to be something of a problem. The points I see are it's still incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood because of the density. The Valley View School District is still going to be over capacity by the build-out year of this development, and traffic in the area is still going to require mitigation by the build-out year, and that kind of improvement is not uniformly in the plan. I think, like the other one, this should be denied.
I respectfully disagree on the basis that part of what you're saying, a lot of this is surrounded with commercial, and so the density of the other project that was discussed is surrounded by massive additional homes where this property is not and will not be. The traffic issues, the right turn in and out on U-Stick is completely compatible because it leads exactly where you need to go for any kind of shopping or anything else you're doing. The access on Florida is reasonable, so I respectfully disagree.
And I agree with Commissioner Whitbeck in this case. I do think that there are similarities not far from the other proposed development, but to the points made by Commissioner Whitbeck, I think we're talking about two different things certainly. Moreover, I'm hesitant to speak on behalf of Valley View or any other body that has elected officials and staff. So certainly that we can presume those numbers are still true, but they certainly have that same opportunity to reply and speak for themselves. And so I certainly can't consider that, speak for them. So with that, I'm actually in support of this. I think we certainly see public participation, probably more recently in the last handful of years that I've been on this commission than others, and see nobody here, only those, nobody here in opposition, that is, and only those in favor also kind of speaks to the impact of those that are living locally. So with that, I'm in favor of that. Other comments?
To state that we don't know, there is a lot of land still around here that has not been developed, and we don't know where it will go. So the traffic is still a concern because, other multifamily developments could be put on those ones. So it's still something to be concerned about going forward. But we also don't have the same issues with down at Karcher and over at the Boulevard that we did on the other project. So they are different in that regard.
Yeah, totally. And I certainly don't disagree with that sentiment, and we have to go based on what's in front of us now and what's being proposed now.
Right.
Other discussion for commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion at this time.
Chair, could I make one
yes.
last comment? Sorry.
Katie, go ahead.
Just for a little bit of clarification and just on the record, all of the undeveloped land in this area presumably would have to fall under the comprehensive plan, most of that being the community center, which would promote similar types of uses and things like that. And our code does require that along arterials within the place type of community center, it does have to have commercial up against there. So just to keep that in mind as well. Thank you.
All right.
I would like to speak to that of staff. Katie, the amount of commercial on a development like this, the amount of commercial that has to be included, what percentage is that usually?
Chair and Commissioner, that's been a very talked about topic. There's some language in the code that addresses the frontage. How much counts as frontage is something that we have discussed as well. Joe may be able to speak a little bit more to that, but I know that has been a heavily discussed topic internally because it is a little bit of a blurry word saying frontage. But I'll let Joe speak to that if he has any additional comments there.
Thanks, Katie. Mr. Chair, for the record, Joe Dodson, Principal Planner here at the city. Good question, Commissioner Vance. There's nuances for sure. Code is not specific, and it's not specific because every property is different. Every project is different. Every private property right is different in this case. And so we've kind of leaned on the comprehensive plan a little bit more to provide a little broader guidance. And so there hasn't been a specific, every single community center property has to be 50% commercial, 50% residential. If we did that, I assure you, we would be getting comprehensive plan map amendments out the wazoo again, because everybody would say the market will not allow that much commercial, which in my experience is correct. That just probably wouldn't pencil out for anybody. It's going to be a mix, at least along the frontage of USTIC. There will be and is the requirement to have the commercial along there. So I know there's projects along here that aren't compliant with that because they came in before. That just means there'd be even more incentive for staff, commission, and council to push to keep that commercial along USTIC as this project proposes along their frontage too. So in general, we have talked about the frontage being maybe the depth of like one lot, which would be like a building and their required parking. Hasn't been put in code, but that's the intent of what the director and staff has discussed. So this complies with that too.
Well, I like that is put in here, because part of the reason I decided to join this board is because a good balance between commercial and residential needs to be established. And as you just stated, you don't have that quite yet. You're working towards it. I think that I like that both of these projects have had commercial brought into it, because again, you bring this many people into a community, they have to have someplace to go, they have to have a place to work, and parking, and et cetera. So, yeah, that's just one of my chief concerns right now is, as much residential as we want to bring in, we also need to bring in a fair amount of commercial. And speaking from the commercial side, which is what I do, I can tell you right now, Caldwell is running in a deficit in that. I am seeing it with my customers, I am seeing it with lots of conversations, so this is something that I like seeing that these are here. And that's why I asked the questions about could these be developed into residential later, and they can't. I like that. But at the same time, I think commercial is something that needs to be addressed in all properties and at each site. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Other comments from commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion. Based upon the testimony and evidence and record in this matter, and upon the findings of fact and conclusions of law set forth herein, I do hereby determine and move that the request for annexation with a zoning designation of R2, medium-density residential and preliminary plat for Copper Point is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions of approval as presented.
Okay, that was a motion from Commissioner Whitbeck. Is there a second?
I second.
Second for Commissioner Vance. Roll call, please.
Whitbeck,
Aye.
Vance,
Aye.
Harmon's not here, Zamora,
Yes.
Boutros,
No.
With that, the motion carries. And close that action item. Move on to the next action item on the agenda, which is adjournment. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Commissioner Boutros?
Aye.
Commissioner Vance is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We're adjourned.
So we really can't bring into